Teach me to play someone above myself.
Hey everybody, welcome into the Big Bro Show. I am your host, Ty, joined alongside my co-host as always, Jarrett.
Hey.
How we doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How about you?
Good. It was a good week.
Good. All right. If you want, I can jump into introducing our guest for this week.
Absolutely. Feel free.
Okay. So we were thinking a little bit about what our next episode was going to be. And on this show, we like to profile jobs and careers that people can get into out of high school, or even if you're out of high school, you're looking for something new. And during the first episode, Ty and I, we both talked about how coming out of high school, we sort of quit sports for various reasons, and how it was sort of a contentious, I guess, issue where we, thought, what would happen if I continued doing it? And I got thinking, you know what, that would make for an excellent episode for somebody who took the exact opposite approach of us and decided that they're going to follow their dreams and they're going to see where this goes. So, when most kids are getting out of their playing career in hockey in Canada, our next guest said no, and he continued to pursue his professional hockey career. He's pushed through a lot of adversity, doing what most of us wish we could have done years ago after we ended our careers. And I really want to highlight the adversity because as someone who knows and watched it week after week, it was very inspiring to see him push through and grow. You may recognize him from his vlogs cataloging his journey to becoming a professional goaltender for the Motor City Rockers of the FPHL, and his podcast, Slang and the Biscuit, which is fantastic. I listen to it every week.
Thank you.
Trav4oilers. I don't know if you go by that anymore, but Travis Ridgen. Thanks for joining us, Trav, on this podcast. I really look forward to picking your brain.
Well, thank you very much. Looking forward to an awesome conversation. I'll start you off with an amazing quote from one of my goalie coaches, Derek Bujan, and he said this to me last summer. And he said, I've known you for 2 years, and if there's one thing that I tell people about and that I've learned is that there is nobody on earth more driven to not work a real job than you. There is nobody else out there that meets that description the way that you do, and you are resilient to not join the normal labor force. And I said, yep, I don't want to do that.
Well, you're getting paid for it, so technically you are part of the normal labor force.
That's true. Just in a roundabout way, I guess. We're all contributing to the economy somehow.
So, Trav, I got a quick little icebreaker for you. I like to start everybody off with this one. What is something people who know you wouldn't necessarily know about you? And it doesn't necessarily have to be about your hockey career. It could be anything about your life. What's something that you might hold close to yourself? Not necessarily a secret, but something that you hold close that somebody who knows you doesn't know about.
Like somebody personally or somebody on the internet wouldn't know?
Anybody. It could be anybody.
That's a good question. I mean, we could go so many different routes. I mean, I'm a little bit of an emotional baby sometimes, just like a little like brain stew upstairs. That's something I kind of hold maybe near and dear to my heart. I don't show my hand too much, even though it's kind of a blender on the inside. I mixed up cheese and beer pretzel over there. But as far as like personally goes, I love to cook. I don't really show that a lot in the vlog or even talk about that much on the podcast. But I went to culinary school. I did my apprenticeship, 3 years cooking, 1 year baking. I could cook or bake you just about anything possible. I mean, my lovely girlfriend, who's I don't know, maybe like 10 feet over to my right here, she benefits from that regularly, and I love doing it for her. She's fun to cook for. So
she's not just with you for the dashing good looks.
Oh God, I think the breakdown I give her is that you date a man who looks like a stump, but somehow has found a way to stay employed over the past couple of years. So.
All right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up actually, and we'll go right back from the beginning because it's not like you haven't tried for a normal career as well. Like you mentioned, you went to culinary school, and you are, I guess, a chef. I guess is what we would.
Which was an accident, by the way. You want to get into that really quick?
Yes, I would love to hear this story.
Okay, so in Winnipeg, at least in the Winnipeg area, in high school you have like electives. You can do like a different optional gym class, or cooking, like cooking course, sewing course, all this kind of stuff. But a new option recently, I guess this would have been 10 years ago, was you can go to trade school for 6 months, and that will count for your entire credits. And I said, you know what? I said to my high school best friend at the time, I said, you know what? we should do culinary school because I bet you we could pick up some chicks. And we were still virgins at this point in time, but I was like, if we learn how to cook, like think about how much that could help us finesse our way into, accomplishing our goals. And he's like, that's a great idea. And so we both signed up. And then fast forward, I guess when it came to, going, he accidentally signed up for the baking, like the baking school.
Oh.
He grabbed the wrong form and signed up for that. And I remember texting him like, "Where are you? Like, you're not. I don't see you in the class." He's like, "Oh, I'm downstairs in the basement in the bakery." And I was like, "Bakery? The hell?" So that kind of kick-started into. I worked for 3 years on my apprenticeship as a cook, and then 1 year as a baker. But yeah, that was all just an attempt to pick up chicks.
So
Smart
you got
man
that
right
in your-
there.
Yeah, you got that in your back pocket, and we do see it a lot on the vlog. Your protein pancakes, I believe, is what we see.
Trust me, I got a airtight protein pancake game. The protein French toast is pretty tight too. But my protein pancake game really stepped up in the last couple months.
Fantastic, and that was in your Lundar years, if I'm not mistaken, right?
The protein
Or was that
pancakes,
before?
or
No, the chef, the school.
yeah,
culinary
that was right out of high school and into working full time. Like when I started working full time, like immediately out of high school, like 40 hours a week. Got an opportunity to go play junior A in English River, so that kind of brought working to a screeching halt. And then when I came back and I couldn't find a job or I couldn't find a place to play anywhere for a little bit, I just went back to working full time, and I kept doing that while I was playing junior B for all 3 years that I guess 2.5 years that I played, because I was living on my own. I had to support myself somehow, so I'm working 40, sometimes 45 hours a week, which isn't that much in the grand scheme of things. It's just full time. But that on top of traveling and then junior hockey and whatnot, it was a lot during the season. In my last year, I ended up doing not trade school. I went to like a community college to start my business degree. So I did that full time on top of my final year of junior, and then that went over to college hockey at VIU for the following year, where college hockey plus the university. But
Right.
yeah, no stranger to working full time, man. I've spent many weeks working 40 plus hours and doing that on top of the training, the hockey. It's something that I do miss sometimes, and I want to be very careful what I say. I'm a little bit religious, and I do believe that things happen for a reason, and I don't want God to change things on that. But I do sometimes miss going to the workplace. Sometimes you dog it, and you still get paid the same amount of money, but you get to have fun with your employers. You look forward, or your coworkers, I should say. You're looking forward to getting off. You're like, okay, so it's 2 p.m. That means I'm 2 hours in, so I'm 3 hours away from being 3 hours away from going home. And then I'm on my break, and then you take your 30-minute break, then you add in a 15-minute shit break, and then it's just those are interesting times, especially in the early 20s.
Wow, that's So yeah, wow, you were burning the midnight oil on very early in your career, then I guess.
It was really tough, to be honest with you. Sometimes, like I was very blessed to be able to find employers. Like for whatever reason, I was always great with job interviews and meeting female parents or female parents. And I remember thinking to myself one day, I just started a new job working as a baker at Sobeys.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, I was like, is there a way to just work like probation? You know what I mean? Like that first initiation week where you don't really do anything, but you're there shadowing somebody. It's the easiest 40-hour work week of your life. If I could do that every week and just go somewhere new, why not just do that? I could make great money and just have fun and do nothing. But then I realized when as the interviewing process goes on for all these jobs, I'm gonna have no resume of places that I've actually worked at. So that may be a bit of a problem. But man, it was tough sometimes. Definitely.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned VIU, because that brings us to your business degree. And as you just mentioned, you started that, I guess, before you went to VIU. So I guess was college like the next logical step for you for pursuing that business degree? Were you looking for a little bit more of a way to play hockey longer?
Yeah, so there's a few components. It kind of there's a couple roadways to it, and I'll try to explain it to the best of my ability. So I knew that I didn't want to work as a cook or as a baker full time, because there too much work for not enough money is basically what worked out to. I don't want to spend 60 to 80 hours a week every week for the rest of my life just to have a livable wage. So I said, okay, I love YouTube. I love marketing. So maybe, go do business and, try to, I know it's a very general thing a lot of people do, but I thought that was very applicable for me. And then also, I guess a lot of people don't know this. 'Cause I don't like vocalizing this stuff because I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I'd be a hypocrite for some of the things I say in my podcast if I did. But so on my dad's side of the family, I have like Native American, First Nations, whatever ancestry.
Right.
And so I just meet the cutoff for education funding. So they basically they pay for all of my school, free tuition, free books, spending cash allowance every month, which is great. And I was like, well, as I get older, they're going to be less likely to give it to me because I'm competing against other people who aren't even doing business. They're just, hey, I'm Native. I want to go to school and want some money. So I was like, okay, I should probably do this while I'm younger.
Right.
And so I did it my first year of college. So everything was free, everything was covered, and then I had cash on top of it, which is why I was able to do that and play junior. Otherwise, it would have been so beyond broke paying for school and not working. And then my final year of junior was coming to an end, and this started before my final year of junior. I knew after my 20 year, I was like, okay, I don't want to be done playing hockey. I think I have something in the tank. I think also I'm on like a breadcrumb trail with YouTube onto something that I think could turn into something bigger, not anywhere near what it's become today, but a little bit bigger. And I was like, I need to go play college hockey. I need to explore this a little bit more. I also want to finish or pursue this business, I guess, degree, diploma, whatever at the time. And so I want to play college hockey. And so I told our GM at the time in Lundar, I was like, I don't want to play here unless you're going to make some changes to the team because, dude, I'm averaging like 40 shots every single night. Like in the playoffs, I'm getting 70 shots a night and we get blown out. Like I need some help because the numbers that I'm putting up aren't going to get me into college.
Right.
And the team that you have in front of me is not going to let me put up those numbers to go to college. And I'm asking for some help.
It's funny too, because Lundar is when I started to pick you up on YouTube. I started to see you in my feed and I started watching you subscribe and just, I mean, originally it was for the chirping. That was hilarious.
It still goes on. You just don't see it posted as much. I'll leave it at that.
No, yeah, but I mean, like as a goalie, and I played in the old school butterfly, like you're down, you're up, you shuffle to the side, and to see the style evolve in you, for me, was fascinating. And as we'll get on to later, when I started beer league, I started to emulate a lot of what you did, and it elevated my game so much more.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I could help you in some way, shape, or form, and allowing you to watch me to keep up goals. But
well, I mean, yeah, you made some fantastic saves, and the style and everything, just the way you did it, it got me into it. But like I said earlier, enough fangirling. We'll let you continue on with that.
No problem. So our GM basically told me to go pound sand, and he's like, just come play. If you're good enough, you'll get picked up. And I'm like, that's true. But when you subject me to this defense, there's no way I'm going to be able to go play college. Like, nobody's going to take me seriously with this kind of shit. And so I told him I'm not going to play until you trade me or fix the team in front of me to help me accomplish this goal. I'm not like all the other guys who are working and they're just playing to fill some free time and a hobby. Like, I want to go to college. And he didn't want to do that. And so I ended up sitting out September, October, November, didn't play a game. But I wanted to go to the team that had just hosted the national championship for Junior B. And so I've been skating with them September, October, and into November. And, we're 3 months in, and I'm like, this guy hasn't traded me. I remember I called him up one night. I'm just like, dude, like, I don't have any hard feelings against you. I don't have a problem with you. I just want to go play college hockey, pursue my education, and move on. Like, why are you holding my rights hostage? Because he wouldn't trade me. I was like, really? Can you please just call the GM in Arborg and just make a deal? I'm asking you man to man. Don't screw me over. Don't ruin, whatever I have left to play, because he wouldn't let me come back to the team either. I'm like, you won't let me play for you and you won't let me go somewhere else. Wow. And then within 20 minutes, I got a call. Hey, deal's done. Traded you for $500. I'm like, perfect. Thanks for spending the money to trade me. And to this date, that is the best statistical year of hockey I ever put up. I put up a .920 save percentage somehow, some way. I was able to get lots of interest from different colleges, from a couple NCAA D3, a lot of ACHA Division One, and then a little bit of interest in Canadian college. And the problem with the U.S. stuff was it was so expensive, 20, 30, 40, 60,000 a year. And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I don't know where this money's going to come from. Yeah. But I got very lucky to have VIU, I guess, offer me a letter of intent. They're a brand new program. If you missed the podcast from this week,
right?
Yep. The story of, I went out for this recruit trip. Not a single member of the coaching staff, except for the goalie coach, was there. The owner, because in Canadian club college. The team is affiliated with the university, but it's funded just like a junior program. So there's actually somebody cutting checks and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And the guy cutting the checks, I was apologizing to me. I'm really sorry nobody showed up. This is awful. I can't believe we gave you this experience. And I was like, I like it here. And he's like, well, why don't we sign you? This guy never see me play. He didn't see me skate one time all week, but he signed me. And thank God that he did, because that, allowed me to get into VIU, get my foot in the door, kind of build, a load of experience. Although it was still to this date the worst experience of hockey I've ever had in my life. And things did not go very well at all.
Right.
It worked out in the sense that it sent me down a path, to go play in Sweden for 2 years, learn a lot about myself, learn a lot about the hockey world and just how cold and brutal it can be at times and how much of a business it is, and separating the two entities when possible. And ultimately that led me to play in the Motor City in the Fed this year, which is now in turn leading me into hopefully finding a genuine job where I'm going to play a decent amount of games this upcoming season in the Fed. And I got my hip surgery. So that's kind of where that all led. But yeah, so college was, I wanted to get this degree going, or at least somewhat finished. I want to play college hockey, and that's basically the path that I went down.
Cool. So yeah, just to go back and highlight that. So yeah, you had that moment where it was either I'm going to quit and continue on with work, or I'm going to play hockey, and you opted for, I don't want to work like this for the rest of my life. I'm going to see where this goes.
Well, and also to working the normal jobs, I always felt like the people that I worked for, the bosses that I had, never saw the potential in my ideas and the things that were going on in my head. I always thought I was I may not be the smartest guy out there, but I think I have some good ideas that could really be, executed and help somebody if they're willing to be open-minded to it. And then I just realized, I'm like, why am I wasting these ideas on these bozos that don't give me the time of day or think that I'm smart? Why don't I just do them myself? I think I'm onto something. And again, I want to be very clear. I did not think it would turn into what it has today with the vlog and the podcast. I've been very, very fortunate to have the success that I have. And I genuinely don't believe if I try it again today from scratch, I could replicate it. I don't. But it was life-changing. And at the time,
a couple
sorry,
of
go
times
ahead.
where you caught lightning in a bottle with that LA Kings tryout. You, like that I think that was one of the huge things for you, was getting episodes like that.
That was huge, because I remember even to this day, that gained me 10,000 subscribers or whatever it was in a week, and that kickstarted the momentum that I've had to this day, because that changed everything. Got my first ever real paid sponsorship after that, and everything just kind of started snowball rolling very slowly, but it did start rolling.
Yeah.
I still remember my first ever check from YouTube was $20. I remember thinking I'm the richest man in the world. And obviously, $20 is gonna buy you shit. I mean, it can't even buy you 4 liters of gas in Canada right now. But as you
It can
know,
get you 4 things of cheese curds, my friend.
well, there we go. But then I'm back to no money and I'm broke. So, but yeah, it's been interesting to see how things have grown and how things have changed. I mean, the Kings thing was one thing that popped off. The short experience with the Columbus River Dragons, that really helped and popped things off. The Sweden vlogs really caught fire in the first year during COVID, I think, because nobody had anything else to do. And it was thank God the algorithm says, here's a man who's doing something. Watch this shit. Even though I look back at the videos and I'm like, oh God, this is awful. I don't know how people watch this.
No. Okay. That brings me back to where I wanted to go to from this, was Sweden. So the VIU petered out. We heard a lot about that on your podcast last week. If anybody wants to check it out, check out Slang and the Biscuit. You really go into depth about what happened at VIU, why you left, and everything that happened from there. But then you ended up in Sweden, in Flemingsburg, just sort of on a wing and a prayer, I guess, with Liam Sweeney there.
Yes,
and,
basically.
So actually, before I go into that, I just want to say that looking back, hindsight's 2020. You've already started a marketing career right then and there with YouTube and with yourself. You're just an entrepreneur. You're your own boss. I guess you just didn't realize it at the time.
I think I realized at the time, but I never looked at, even to this day, every Sunday the podcast has to go out. Every Sunday, a new vlog or a new video goes out usually. And I still don't look at it as work. There's certain things where I'm this needs to get done by a certain time, but I look at myself as a professional fun haver. I get to in all seriousness, I get to go skate. That's my job. I work out. That's my job. eat well, sleep well. Like that's my job. That's basically what I'm doing with a little bit of marketing on the side. The Sweden stuff is just so interesting because like so many things had. I mean, depending on how you look at it, so many things had to go wrong, or so many things had to go right for it to happen the way that it did.
Yeah.
And capturing that lightning in the bottle that again changed my career, change uh, you know having me set up a little bit financially for a while after the Sweden stuff. Just all this type of stuff. Everything changed the day that I flew to Sweden for the first time. And I remember it like that jet lag, like first time ever getting jet lag, that shit hits you real hard. It hits you like a truck.
Yeah.
But that was the moment that everything truly changed and has since then.
Well, it's funny too because Flemingsburg, just watching that, and I went back and I rewatched a couple of those episodes too. Like that had the opportunity to go so bad with everything that went on in Flemingsburg and how you ended up leaving that situation,
Yeah.
and that could have been the end of it right there for you. But
It,
again,
it
like
could have been, but I've also always reminded myself, like, I love playing hockey. Like,
yeah,
there's nothing else I want to do in my life outside of playing hockey. I mean, maybe there's some other like side hobbies that I have that interest me, but like hockey is what really, turns my crank, if you will.
yeah,
And even though they had us living in the tool shed, or pooping in a bucket, we're getting charged crazy amounts. Well, they tried charging us crazy amounts of money for rent. We never paid them a dime, which was actually another interesting story that I never got to tell on the show last week. But not having pegs in the rink, having the team screw us over on transfer cards. Just I firmly believe that like God has been there to help me and kind of guide me and give me a little bit of assistance. Like the old saying we had in the show maybe 2 weeks ago was God helps them who help themselves. Man
exactly.
says he's stuck on a roof in the middle of a hurricane. God, please send help. Guy comes by on a boat. It's okay. I'll wait for God to save me. Another boat comes by the next day. I'll wait for God to help you. Well, God sent you 2 boats. If those that
Yeah.
can't help themselves, like you're never gonna get any help. So
He sent you an agent who said you're getting screwed over.
he sent me multiple agents in my DMs that were telling me something's a little fishy here, and I just so happened to reply to the right one and engage with the right one, who still to this day is my agent now. And actually, I have a call with him tomorrow to kind of go over what we're doing for next season. But
Cool.
yeah, just a lot of lightning in the bottle, a lot of opportunities that didn't get squandered, and just keep on trucking, I guess.
Nice. And just to that, I want to, I guess, dive into another area where our paths sort of crossed. I remember during those, especially in Flemingsburg, earlier on, you were mentioning that you were homesick, and you mentioned that you and your dad used to collect the Tim Hortons cards, and I think in like the same week you put your address up for sending you something. And I thought, you know what, this is funny. This is all sort of serendipitous that this is all coming together. And the Tim Hortons cards had just come out. So I remember going to Tim Hortons, grabbing, I think, about 5-6 packs of those and sending them to you.
That was you sent me the cards.
That was me, yes.
Thank you so much, brother. Those were
Well,
awesome.
thank you for
those
the
really,
shout out on YouTube.
yeah, those were awesome. That was when I remember when I got them. We were kind of going through a little bit of a difficult time, and obviously the vlog was very post dated, so things weren't as successful, if you want to call it. So those cards definitely made me feel a little bit at home. So I appreciate
Good.
that.
I'm glad. That's exactly what they were supposed to do. But yeah, no, like everything, I think everything was just starting to go south with Flemingsburg. You could see the writing was starting to be on the wall there, and you were starting to make changes. But all of that ended, and you ended up in Varberg, which I think was a much better situation for you.
Also, I want to say just for the record, I remember like it was yesterday. I told Sweens before we confirmed our flights and everything for the trip to Flemingsburg. I remember very distinctly telling him, "I hope this isn't boring, and I hope that this is somewhat of an entertaining endeavor." Careful what you wish for.
It was definitely entertaining, but yeah. So you got down to Varberg after that for the Vipers, and you started playing for them, right?
Yes, sir. COVID shut down the first year.
Right.
I think like less than 2 weeks. Maybe it might have even been like 10 days, 7 days after I got there, everything got shut down. But second year, which would have been, I guess, last year, yeah, I started playing games.
So COVID was really, really interesting. Actually, you ended up coming back to Winnipeg, right, for the shutdown?
Yes.
And I love this, and this just like perseverance is the theme of today's episode. But that was perseverance on steroids because hi Oliver, Daddy is on
a Ma, the meatloaf.
I'm sorry, I thought I locked that door.
That's okay. Carry
on. That's my little one, Oliver. He knows how to unlock the doors. Yeah, so I remember at that time you were back in Winnipeg. Everything was shut down for COVID, and you wanted to keep training. And I remember there were 3 episodes specifically where you found ice anywhere you could. One of them was in your dad's backyard.
Yep.
One of them was on the side of the road. There was just a puddle that froze. And who was out there with you? I can't remember who was out there with you.
Goalie coach Guy St. V at the time.
Okay.
This would have been like early 2020 though.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have quite been after Sweden, but yeah.
And then the other lightning in the bottle that I think got you more viewers and things like that was outside the Bell MTS Center in Winnipeg.
Bingo. That's actually that was the 3-year anniversary yesterday of that.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah, when we
Time
did that.
flies.
Time does.
So-
Dude, it's crazy to think about that.
So number one, perseverance. You're finding ice wherever you can, even though everything's shut down. Number two, marketing, YouTube, everything, all of that stuff you've been building up until now. I think that MTS was genius, just absolutely brilliant.
Well, actually, so here's the little bit of a backstory behind that. The skating outside the MTS Center was inspired by skating inside of it, because at that point in time, my skating inside the MTS Center video, which I titled "Welcome to the Winnipeg Jets," had just hit the algorithm, and
Okay.
I thought, shit, if I had access to skate there again. I thought, what if I skated outside the arena? Nobody's downtown. Everything's dead.
Yeah.
And then that's where that idea came from. And then as far as skating the ponds and the puddles go, I saw two things. I saw, if I want to play hockey the following year, I can't just stop skating, because I need to like make sure that I don't suck, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then if I'm going to be able to afford to go to Columbus or Georgia, to go to Sweden, wherever, I got to make some videos. So everything just kind of lined up, and I said, well, they shut down the arenas, they destroyed all the outdoor rinks, but you can't destroy nature. And I have been blessed to be born and raised in Winnipeg, where it doesn't get warm until May. And I believe we actually ended up skating on legitimate outdoor ice, I want to say the last few days of April. So again, right around this time 3 years ago, which to this day, it's still probably the latest I've ever skated outdoors. And again, I believe, sign from God, a gift from God of, hey, here's some really cold weather, do something with it. And then right as the ice started to thaw, we ended up being legally allowed to be indoors again, which was great.
Well, that's
So everything there kind of lined up. But yeah, those were, again, just, little Easter eggs, little gifts from above that just seemed to line up quite nicely.
And that's when you came back. I think you were in Hamilton there to skate with Booge for a bit before you went back to
Yeah, that was right around when Booge was like, okay, I think I'm okay and I'm comfortable allowing you into my place with the the pigs being around and everybody ratting everybody out and them coming to give COVID fines for having your place open. So he again has been amazing. I remember he got a fine for like 12, it would have been like $1,400. One of the goalie coaches down the road ratted him out and sent the squad over there. So
Oh, dick move.
yeah, tough move, but hey, that's okay because he still hasn't paid it to this day.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, you're back in Varberg for, I guess, to finish off the season or most of the season, right?
No, so everything was done. Because so I was in Flemingsburg, went to Varberg for like 2 weeks. I waited for a month. Nothing was opening. Because they had just shut us down. They're like, well, you guys don't make a full-time salary, so therefore you can't skate. But if you do make a full-time salary, you can skate. It didn't make any sense. Yeah. So I just missed the cutoff by like that much, and then went back to Winnipeg. And then my goal was, skate outdoors for a month, 2 months, and go back, and we'll carry things on. Things never picked up again, and I just kind of kept rolling that, like I said, same skate outdoors mentality. And then I went back to Sweden in August of 21.
Excellent. And you finished off the season in Sweden. You guys had a decent season. You finished off fairly strong, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, we did. Good season, but tough season at the same time. Ran into some injury problems, like those knee issues, hip issues I talk about all the time.
Yeah.
I would say December of 21 is when it really started to kind of fall into place, unfortunately. And so I didn't play a game from like, I want to say mid to end November until maybe Valentine's Day. I missed like 3 months just because I couldn't get this shit under control, along with some other things.
And that's when the cortisone started, right?
That was the only thing that I could figure out to fix. I tried everything. And I had this injury earlier on in the spring of 21. So I would say like March, maybe April of 21. And I didn't ski for like 3-4 months then, but obviously because everything was shut down, it wasn't a problem. But now we're in the middle of the season. I'm like, shit, I need to get some games. I've only played like 6 games. This is going to be a problem if I want to play anywhere next year. And then, funny enough, the team trainer for the Haugesund Seagulls in Norway texted me. He's like, you should get some cortisone. That should fix it. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And it did. Within 2 weeks, I was ready to go. Problem solved. Finished the season on a bit of a streak. I think points in every single game that I finished the season with. I think went like 5-0-1 or 6-0-1 to finish the season, and we were one win away from making the advancement playoff, which was I remember. And this is part of the interesting thing with Swedish hockey is because my other goalie partner, his dad was one of the big funders for the team. I put a lot of money on the board, and obviously you put that kind of money, you're going to get more opportunities. And I remember we were tied first place with the top team, and they were spanking everybody. And we need to win this game. Basically, the winner of this game is going to get into the advancement round because the games after that are easy, and we're both going to win all of our remaining couple of games, or something along those lines. And I didn't get the start. I remember we lost like 13-5, and I remember just like looking at the bench thinking like, what the hell happened? Like I beat these guys twice already this year. Like, well, just give me the game. Let me help us get us into the playoffs. But we lost the game, and that was the game we needed to get into the advanced playoffs, and that was it. So
yeah. Well, Sweden seems to be. This is more hockey rather than career related, but Sweden seems to be a lot more of an East-West style of hockey, which must have been a lot harder on your knees and your hips trying to get across.
I think after I started to adjust and started to read the game the way they played, I thought it was significantly easier. I think the game on the Fed is way tougher than in Sweden. Just everything's done that. They don't waste any opportunities. They throw everything on there, as opposed to in Sweden, at least in Sweden for Europe especially, they're just patient all day long. So
cool. Well, yeah. So Sweden introduced a bunch of new rules and regulations around imports. I remember you discussing this, and that sort of forced your hand, made you come back to North America.
And not just my hand, but a lot of guys that played in the Fed this year were in Sweden last year, and they couldn't go back. Their teams weren't willing to spend the money because, like, why would I spend the money for a similar player when I can get that same player for free, right? And it's why, if you look, and this is my biased opinion, you look at Sweden, Division 3, Division 2, and even Division 1 to an extent. Like, there's no imports in Division 1 now.
Wow.
Almost none in Division 2. Barely any in Division 3 at all. And it's watered down the level of hockey, but the level of play in the Fed has gone up because you have so many more good guys that have come over because they can't play in Sweden now.
Right. Wow. Okay. And I mean, that led you to Motor City as it was. And I know you were looking for North American hockey before you went over to Sweden, but that didn't pan out. But Sweden was its own thing, and I think it was great for you. And by the sounds of it, I think you think it was great for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you're back in North America, you're back in Motor City. And I guess that leads us to the next little bit of adversity with your hip issues.
Yeah, so my thought process coming home from Sweden last year was not going to skate for 3+ months. We're going to not worry about cortisone. We're going to let everything settle down. We're going to take care of it, do things the right way, and everything should reset itself back to normal. And had an amazing off season, the biggest statistical gains I've ever had in my life. But when we started skating, beginning of July, like right away, the knee issues, everything started to come back, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, it's like, of all the times, like, can we get this under control? And we, my trainer and I, we tried everything humanly possible, and just nothing could get it under control. So come end of August, I'm like, shit, I need more cortisone. So I get a cortisone shot just to kind of feel how things are going, because I knew that the more you take, the less effective it gets, and things start to change and break down on the knee. Right. So I took a shot in August, and it wasn't the most effective shot. So then I had to get a doubling up in September, and that was a really strong one. But in June, I'd finally got in to see the hip surgery specialist ever, because during COVID, obviously made it impossible, and they're busy enough as is. But I finally got in, and we do the x-rays, we do the MRI, everything. The guy's like, dude, like, you need surgery. Like, you are, excuse my language, you're F. Like, this is bad. And I was like, well, I don't know how to break this to you. I can't exactly get surgery and, not play this season. Like, I just got an offer in Motor City. I'm going to play. If I got to get cortisone, I'll do it, but I need to play. Yeah. And he's like, okay, well, we can just pencil in the surgery, and whenever you need it, you can do it, but you're not going to finish the season. I was like, well, you know what? Get my foot in the door. If I can, and this was my headspace, was if I get my foot in the door in the league, like on the website, my name's out there. If I can get the vlog to take off and get everybody talking about it, everybody's going to know who I am. So even though I'm not going to finish the season, because I know this is how it's going to end, it's just a matter of when, it will help me after the surgery. And I started planning this in like June because I knew this is exactly how it was going to end. So we get to Motor City. I would say, because we started like end of September, beginning of October, whatever it was. I would say I had, for the most part, no problems until like end of October, maybe third week of October. Basically, when I had my first win, and then after that, it was just a steady like off the cliff. The cortisone stopped working. I started feeling things. My knees bugging me, my hips bugging me. Everything is just kind of coming back full circle. And then November 30th, I think it was, might have been December 1st. Just one day of practice, I just couldn't do it anymore. I'm like, I'm in so much pain. Like I'm on the point of tears. Like I'm sorry. I need to go get this surgery because I'm not willing to do this, and I'm not taking any more steroids. And another part of the mentality too was if I've been playing games, if I had like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 starts at that point in time, and there seemed like there was some progress being made, I probably would have gone home for 2 weeks, gotten more cortisone, let it kick in, and then come back. But I hadn't gotten a start, and everything that I was being told contradicted what was actually happening. And I was like, you know what, like I need to get this fixed, because destroying my knee and destroying my body further for no actual payoff is going to hurt me in the long run.
Right.
And I feel much more confident walking in on a tryout offer, let's say for this fall, with a good hip, than having, stats or whatever you want to call it on a bad hip. So that was the decision. Surgery was done January 4th. And although I'm still not 100%, we still got probably about like 8 more weeks before we start getting really close to that.
Right.
My chronic day-to-day pain is gone. Just overall, like I'm noticing big differences. And even if I get no performance benefits out of it, which I should, but even if I didn't, the day-to-day pain being gone, the pain in the ass of having to show up to the rink 2 hours ready to go warm up, where now I'm showing up 45 and I'm fine, or I start warming up 45 before and I'm fine. Like that alone is worth it itself. And I just think the fact that I've been, quote unquote, mentally freed from, my injury and these ailments is priceless. So all those things lead me to believe that there will be some big things in the league this coming season for me, considering I shouldn't run into these problems again. I mean, you have 17 years of goaltending plus a massive growth spurt at so young when I started, which contributed to this massive femur bone growth and injuries. So this should never be a problem ever again. Well, actually, it won't. My surgeon told me, he's like, there's not enough time and enough mileage to put that back on. But yeah, that's basically where things line up today.
Fantastic. Wow. And just to step back, so signing with Motor City for them, with everything you have in terms of social media and everything, seemed like a perfect move for them. I know right off the bat, when you mentioned you signed for Motor City, I was on their website. The first few games, actually most of the games, I watched on YouTube. So for them, it was an instant boom for viewership, and for a brand new team, you were obviously the perfect choice. And then, like you said, you got, I guess, 1.5 wins if you count that. What was it, 5 minutes after Babs got kicked out?
Minute 14, game? And now I think I've told that story already, but that's because he ran out of sticks. I've never seen a guy smash more sticks in my life. And they score the 7th goal, breakaway, destroys his stick, comes to the bench, and he'd already broken 2 sticks earlier on in the week, so he had no sticks left. And he doesn't like my sticks, so coach just says, "Rich, just go in there and finish the game." So there's my minute and 14 in Port Huron. But I've documented this on my show. I've talked about it lightly in the vlog just because of how many people watch it, so I got to be careful sometimes. But as great of an idea as it was on Motor City's part, I really think that they squandered an amazing opportunity to do something special in the community of Fraser. Again, coming back to what we talked about earlier, I had so many ideas for things we could do to bring people to the rink, to build culture, to build a fan base, and just at the end of the day, put money in the pockets of the guys that are cutting the checks, because that's what they want. They want to make money on this.
Well, that was going to be my next point too. Is that, I mean, it was a great idea to bring you on board just to get the YouTube market in there, but at the same time, they did nothing with it.
I think if anything, having me there hurt the team, because they didn't take advantage of anything that they could have made the money or brought in a fan base. So you paid a guy extra money to do nothing because you didn't allow me to help you. and that's basically what it comes down to. Like, the Fed is tough. Like, the operating budget is $750,000 a season. And if you make under, you're at a loss. You make over, you make more money. Well, you start factoring, and I'm not going to do the math for you because I think anybody can, but you start factoring how many people are actually showing up to the games, times the ticket price, times the cost of operating the team, times how much you're paying the guys. I think your salaries alone to pay everybody all season long is about $100,000. You start factoring all this in. There's a reason why teams turn over every 2 to 3 years. Like half the league every 5 years is gone,
Right.
and that has been since the league came in. And just disappointing because I really wanted to help them and help the community and help build all this stuff. But at the end of the day, like the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. I would still love to help them if they were open-minded to it. But if you're going to bury me on the bench and have me be a glorified cheerleader, you're never going to see any benefit of it. And I think that when they did their year end, talking to fans, asking them, hey, why'd you buy season tickets? Why'd you come to the games? And people start, telling them the real answer, why they came to games, why they stopped coming. I think that it'll definitely show both on the phone calls and in the pocketbooks, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. So with that said, I remember you saying there's one or two new teams coming into the Fed this year?
Yeah, so Baton Rouge is confirmed. Wyethville's very close. There's supposed to be a third, but they're not anywhere near close to being confirmed. But the expansion draft is going to be end of next month. And that's actually what me and my agent have to go over and talk about tomorrow.
Okay.
Is so Motor City has to protect me. If they don't, I'm open for grabs in the expansion draft. And if somebody picks me, they can sign me. And if not, then I become a free agent, go wherever I want. The interesting thing with the Motor City situation is, and I document this on the vlog for tomorrow and the podcast as well, but when you have the best goalie in the league, which is Trevor Babin, it makes things very interesting because you should protect him because he's the best goalie in the league, but maybe you shouldn't protect him because he's never going to play for you again because he's going to go up. So I don't know. They're going to have to make that decision, and that kind of plays a role in everything that I'm going to be doing. So I just got to, I guess, sit and wait and see what happens.
Okay, that's so you've got Oliver, please stop.
That's okay.
You've got options for next season, which is fantastic, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where you land. For me personally, I'd like to see you starting. Gotta get that FPHL jersey with Ridgen on the back.
Well, realistically speaking, I'm not going to be a starting goalie next season. Is it my goal? Absolutely, but I just need to find a team that's going to give me a genuine backup job. Get 10 plus starts, see where things go. If you earn more, great. If not, well, that's the way that you go. Is that there's a team, I won't mention it, but I got a text from the GM yesterday that said, hey, we'd like to offer you a pro tryout. We'll get you moved in, get you settled, and see where things go. I'm not going to guarantee the starting spot, but we'll go with the best guy, and we'd like to have you play here. Nice. And that's great. But again, I have to go and perform and not suck. But that was also the same thing in Motor City. If I went to training camp and I was awful, they would have gotten rid of me. So I feel confident. I feel fine. Once the hip's 100% in running order, we start working with what we actually have physically. I think that'll really make some big changes and improvements because right now I'm so tight and things are, it's like I forgot how to do everything on my right side and I'm just relearning everything on the ice again.
Yeah, you just got back on the ice, right?
I've only skated 3 times. I'm skating once a week. I didn't skate last week, but I'm going to be skating this week again. And just every week, just seeing how things are going. Are we making the right changes? And then I'm thinking maybe like middle of June, I'll just stop skating altogether. And then just focus on the rehab stuff until I go to Halifax for 2 weeks and then kind of go from there.
Excellent. All right. So we've looked back a lot. Perseverance, building your brand, everything along those lines. So what does the future hold for you? I know you haven't really thought about what happens after hockey, but you've got a lot of good things going for you. I mean, you're probably not going to want to be a chef or a baker. We've established that, but you've got marketing, you've got YouTube, you've got brand management, everything going for you. Once you hang up the skates, where do you go from there?
Yeah, I've got a few ideas. I mean, the podcast was spun out of COVID as a post-retirement idea, as just like something to fall back on. Because when I stopped playing, obviously the vlog kind of dies.
Yeah.
So the podcast has kind of been that slow post-retirement thing, and we'll see where it goes because it got really hot during the season with the Fed. You'll also probably have noticed since my surgery, because I haven't been skating, I've been doing a lot of like travel vlogging, documenting travel and whatnot, and that's something I'm really, really passionate about. So that may take a little bit of free time away from post retirement. Victoria was telling me the other day, maybe I should get into politics, because I spend so much time during the day when she's gone at work. I just sit on the couch, I just scream at the TV, and I watch the news, and I don't know, maybe I'll get into politics or something. I don't know.
New MP for Winnipeg. Yeah, I like it.
For somebody, I don't know. I'd be the only guy swearing in politics. They just get so mad about some of these things. But I don't know. There's lots of options on the table. Oh, I also don't speak French. I realized that this morning too. I don't know if I could be an MP if I don't speak French. So maybe they'll have to make an exception. But I don't know. I don't plan on retiring anytime soon. I got this new hip I want to work in. See what we can do with it. I think I got lots of passion and mileage left in the tank, and I've documented this in the podcast before. But in case you missed it, a lot of guys retire because they run out of money. They got to pay off their student loans. The old lady wants them to start life, etc., etc. And having the YouTube financially support everything in the podcast as well now, kind of fixes all that. Like, that's not a problem. Like, I'm not, oh my god, I'm making $125 a week, I'm broke, I need to get a real job and whatnot. Like, I got a little bit of flexibility now. And my agent was telling me this last week. He's like, what I realized the other day is, like, realistically, you could be a starter in the SP by 30. And I'm like, yep, there's no rush. We have all the time in the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, my own ego wants to perform and go to the highest level that I possibly can, because I love doing this, and I wouldn't be doing it if I wasn't trying to accomplish something. Like, some people think that I just do it because it's my job, it's a moneymaker. It's like, no, like, I generally love this. Like, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. And to an extent, I think I'm somewhat okay at it. So both the marketing side and
you wouldn't
the
be where you were if you weren't.
And again, I'm very lucky to have that, and very blessed.
Yeah.
But no, you won't see me retiring anytime soon. That's a lot of people thought I was going to retire after hip surgery. I was like, are you kidding me? I can't afford to retire. I'm 26.
Well, the whole point of hip surgery was to keep going. So
Exactly.
I had no delusions that you'd be giving it up right then and there. But no, I mean, you're when you are all said and done, there's going to be no question about what if. You're going to know where you got to, and that you earned that, which I definitely respect. I definitely admire, and it's why I keep coming back week after week to watch the vlogs and listen to the podcast. It's fantastic to hear, and we wish you the best for that.
Well, thank you very much. And I think too, if there's one, I guess, takeaway from everything that I do, it's just that, like, I'm not anything special. Like, I'm not, Connor McDavid. I'm not a highly, drafted prospect. I'm just an average guy who's had an average career, ran average numbers, in some cases below average numbers. Been very fortunate to fall on some opportunities and certain circumstances that allow me to keep playing. I'm just like you. I love the game and I want to keep playing it. And I guess that ambition to share that is what has made this full time. But there's nothing special about what I'm doing.
That's the thing I was talking to Ty about before this, is that everybody looks at the Sidney Crosbys, the Connor McDavids, the Connor Bedards, and they see that you light it up in juniors and bam, you're in the NHL. But the way you're doing it, you're, I guess, for lack of a better term, you're going the hard route. Is you're going to Sweden, you're putting in the work in the Fed. Eventually, you'll make your way up to the SP, and who knows, AHL, maybe an NHL start.
I don't know if that's
things have happened, right?
I don't know if that's real. I mean, the second ever Fed goalie played in the AHL the other day for the Manitoba Moose, with them calling up so many goalies for the playoffs and the Jets. So it's not out of the picture. I mean, if you had two guys playing in the Fed in 2020 that are now in the playing games in the American League, that's, you never know.
Yeah.
And those are genuine Fed goalies that are very lucky to play AHL games, but are probably East Coast goalies, realistically speaking. But I don't know. I just, like I said, I just been very lucky to find opportunities and keep going. I love this. There's nothing else I would rather do. Nothing that I do is really all that special. I'm just some monkey that knows how to operate a camera, talking to a microphone and fly a drone and then piece it together and slop it up on YouTube. But it's what I love doing.
Well, it's fantastic, and it's a terrific alternative for people to see that you don't just have to get a job right out of college or high school or anything like that. There are other options. You can follow that dream. It's going to be tough. I mean, you've shown us that it's difficult. You've got to persevere. You've got to work hard for it. People aren't just going to hand you things.
Absolutely not.
And that's a lot of what I've taken away from the vlogs and the podcast. And it's very inspirational.
Yeah. No matter how hard it gets, it beats working an office job. I'll tell you that much.
Don't rub it in, buddy. Don't rub it in.
Sorry. My apologies. Sorry.
Yeah, that's why we couldn't do this Monday at noon or 9 a.m. or something like that. We're both stuck in the office.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, sometimes I'll FaceTime like Sweens or like other friends I've made over the years, and they never pick up my calls, and they'll text you back and be like, Trav, some of us work real jobs. We don't always live at home. I can't answer your calls any time of the day. I'm like, oh, that's right. Sorry, I forgot about that. Most people work during the day.
Awesome. Sorry, Ty, I've been talking throughout this entire thing. Do you have any questions for Trav?
No, you're fine. Yeah, I wanted to ask you. So, with Motor City, I was kind of following along. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know anything about you. Being in America, I don't watch hockey, but this has been a really interesting conversation, and I am going to be following you on YouTube because you're basically living out my dream right now. I was a big time football player in high school and had aspirations to go to college and possibly make it big because I was pretty damn good at it, and I just ended up giving up. So you are literally living out my dream, and it's very interesting.
If I could, just 2 quick points on that. Number one,
Yeah.
you are the type of person that I'm trying to attract. People that don't know hockey, that have never been fans of NHL hockey, because you get the same, we're trying to work the puck on the corner, get them in deep, and we're trying to get to, like, fuck that. So, excuse me, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
No, you're fine.
Nobody cares about that. You want the real shit. You want NASCAR on ice every night. That's what I'm trying to give you. And I'm not going to, use fancy wording or sugarcoat things. This is the way that it is. And hopefully you buy in, and hopefully you just love the experience in the game and just the overall environment in these videos so much that it draws you into coming on in person.
Absolutely. So, going back to, I think you were talking about when you were with Motor City, you had mentioned that, you had this big social media presence, with the vlog, with YouTube. But you had mentioned, if I remember correctly, you were on the bench.
Correct.
What was the reason for that? It was just the guy was better than you, or was that just because of your hip issue?
So this is just from my point of view. We talked before the season or camp even started that on paper I was going to be the backup and the number 2 guy, and our starter was our starter because he was nasty, and I knew that before we even had the conversation.
Okay.
But the expectation was I was the backup guy. Our third goalie was never going to play any games, just practice, and that's how it was going to be. But as the situation unfolded, it turned out to be it was the opposite. I was actually the third goalie, and he was the dedicated backup. I'd be told on a Monday, hey, you're going to be starting in the next month. Hey, you're going to get the next start. You're going to start this weekend. And then it would be the other way around. And it's like, well, only so long can go by before you start saying, all right, it smells like a duck, looks like a duck, feels like a duck, sounds like a duck, and it quacks. So I think that it might possibly be a duck. Something seems a little bit ducky here. And so I think the league is run by guys who like experience. And that's all over sports. You see lots of guys in the NHL who maybe shouldn't be there, but because they have a playing pedigree and they have a resume that the guys making decisions can feel comfortable with, that's why they go with them. It's simple as that. I think that I didn't play as well as I would have liked to in the one opportunity I got thrown into a game. I think that if I'd played better, that could have changed things. But also, I don't know if that would have changed things, because just based on conversations, I don't know if there really ever was an intention to play me outside of some horrible catastrophe that, again, which was my one win, that threw me in the net somehow, some way. So I think at the beginning in training camp, I was probably very, very close, if not just as good as our starter for camp at the very, very beginning of the season. But as the cortisone wore off, again, I literally tell you, it was like the boulder going off the cliff. It's very steep and it happens very quickly. Because when I'm pain-free, I can do all the things that I need to do. I feel confident. I feel comfortable. When you start compensating, you're trying to put weight here, you're trying to hurt yourself. And when you start getting to the point towards the end where, like, obviously you can't see it under my mask, but like I'm just in the point of like tears, like I'm in so much pain because this shit hurts so much. And I'm trying to push through, and we're just trying to jam a square peg into a round hole. It doesn't work anymore. So towards the end, I was absolutely the third goalie because I was just not, I couldn't do what I needed to do anymore. So that I understand. At the beginning, I would disagree a little bit. Obviously, my goal for next season or this upcoming season is I want to be a top 3 goalie in the league. I think I have what it takes. I think I have all the assets and the attribute. And if I can execute on what I know that I'm capable of, I will be a top goalie in the FPHL. I mean, not the top goalie, but I will be a top goalie. But I need to earn some starting minutes. I need to get a genuine backup job. not squander that opportunity and then go from there. And then that itself will help, pay for me for the team, because people are going to be coming to the games. People are going to be coming to the rink. People are curious to see this gong show. I mean, you even look on the online streaming records for Motor City. There's a very dramatic drop off the cliff again in views and people come to the games, and it's not a coincidence when it happened. I mean, you even look the Watertown Wolves, for the team that I beat in that one game I got thrown into. Their most viewed stream game of the year was that one, and they've played all season. They just got bounced in the playoffs, but and over far and above was the most watched, most streamed game. So I think that the answer is in there, that I don't need to be a starter. I just need to be playing games and to help build that almost like build that name in the community and get people talking. Because I mean, when the vlog's putting out 50, 60, 70,000 views every Sunday, people are watching. People are coming to the games for this stuff. This is what they want to see. I mean,
Right.
for Christ's sakes, the amount of people in Delaware that brought signs to watch me open the gate. You got, one guy in one corner, Trav, hey, I love you. The other guy, hey, Trav, my son and I watch your videos. Hey, Trav, want a Pepsi? Like, just these people are so passionate and just so nice and welcoming. I almost, feel bad sometimes. These people get bad reputations. There's a guy in Carolina. He wears a toga. So he's like half naked. He wears a toga. He's got like a bullhorn, and he just yells at the opposing team's bench. He'll go behind the goalie and yell at them. And he's him and I've talked once or twice on just on Instagram DMs. It just seems like a nice guy. But these people are just so passionate, and there's so much room to grow the league, to grow the game, to grow the team, to bring people to the rink, and just ultimately provide some entertainment, because that's what they want. People want to be entertained. They want value for their money. The economy's tough. Give them value, and they'll come back.
Right.
Excellent.
I don't mean to ramble on too much, but
No, you're fine. I just feel like you going into depth with that story, I feel like that team just totally missed out on a huge opportunity with your social media following, and honestly just shot themselves in the foot.
do you guys get a lot of views in this podcast, or not really?
We just started about 2 months ago.
Okay.
So we were on, I think I just edited and released our 8th episode. So I think we're at about 1,000 right now.
Okay, good. So I won't sandbag myself. Too bad if I say this.
No, you're fine.
There was there's one moment that sticks out in my head. One of our owners in Motor City, he comes up to me after one of our games and says, we just had like 200 people show up to the game. Like that's really tough financially, and like looks on TV when the entire arena is empty. And it's not like we have like a 700 seat arena with 200 people. Like we have like a 3,500 seat arena with 200 people. Like it looks tough. And he says to me, he's like, "What do you think we're missing? What do you think we need to do?" And I was like, "Here's my opportunity. This is what I think needs to be done. Here's a bunch of ideas. You want to talk more? I'll give you more, but these are my baseline ideas." And it felt in the moment, and it showed over time that, again, that was in one ear, out the other, and nothing was ever used. And it's like, I know how much money you're spending. You don't want this to go under. But if this continues the way it's going, I don't see how this sustains itself for 2 to 3 years, realistically. And I would love to help you, but again, I can't help you if you don't want to be helped. But
Right.
I'll tell you this: just talking to other teams throughout the season, and I know it's technically tampering, but there's lots of teams that are interested and want that. Plus, some decent backup goaltending. I'm not going to be your starter, but I will definitely help you stay above water in the pocketbooks.
And if one of these
Absolutely.
new expansion teams pick you up and decide to go with a bunch of your ideas, they could be doing what Motor City didn't.
One of them has one of the expansion teams. Their arena capacity is 9,000 people.
Wow.
So I'll let you make of that what you will.
Yeah.
Very cool.
They got a lot of seats to fill, and they can make a lot of money off it.
Bingo.
So you said you're 26, right?
Yes, turning 27 in June, unfortunately.
Okay. Do you have an idea of how long you plan to play, or is it kind of just dependent on your body at this point?
I mean, realistically, I don't have any barriers. Like we talked earlier, the financial life aspect kind of, is negated. The only real barrier is, I guess, when the body decides to say you can't do this anymore, which obviously there's no negotiating it. When it happens, it happens.
Right.
You could say that maybe I fall in love with the game, but I don't see that happening, because I've tried to mentally train myself. Like there's a business side and there's a fun side. Like you can't let the coach shitting on you, or your GM lying to you, or any of this other stuff, like park it at the door. The second you come to the rink and you get in the room and on the ice, separate. We go and we perform. You leave the room, then you can get upset about that. But there's two personalities that you have to maintain. So I don't think that'll happen anytime soon. It gets tough. Don't get me wrong. It's very challenging to do that. Easier said than done, but I don't think that'll happen to make me quit anytime soon. I don't know. I mean, if a team doesn't want to sign me, but I think with what I've shown that I'm able to do, I don't think that'll be a problem for a bit. Hopefully, knock on wood. But yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Good.
So you'll see vlogs and podcasts for a while, I guess.
I'm looking forward to checking this out.
Absolutely, yeah. If you want to watch my vlogs, every Sunday I post a new vlog. I guess if you search Trav4oilers, it'll pop up. But I'm just going to rebrand everything to just Trav because I'm not an Oilers fan anymore, and that doesn't really have anything to do with it. But the vlogs are usually, if not always, 8 minutes, between 8 minutes and 5 seconds. And there's a reason for that. It encapsulates drone cinematography, videography of whatever location I'm in, encapsulated in a beautiful package with awesome music, action shots. It's fast paced. It will not bore you. I don't yammer onto a camera for 35 minutes. It's very short paced so that it's enjoyable. And if you enjoyed that and you don't totally want to, jab your ears out, listen to me talk, there's a podcast version of it called Sling the Biscuit that I host every Sunday with my co-host, Mr. Dave Wheeler. He's got the top morning radio show in the city of Winnipeg, actually, and has for almost 20 years now.
Nice.
And he makes that show tick. It didn't before him, but now it does.
I gotta say, the rebrand on that was fantastic. I mean,
Oh.
I like the one before, but it sort of got into a pattern of just interviews. But
yeah, dude, switching up was game changing. And again, another opportunity that just so happened to work itself out. I had my previous co-host Pat Shea, and I would say the podcast was like 95% me, 5% him, as far as creativity, ideas, production. Like it got to the point where even getting Pat to show up was difficult. And I think the numbers reflected that statistically, and how we were struggling to get viewers and grow it. And then when Dave came in, it was so easy off the bat. Even to this day, it's so easy. And he's always available to record because obviously he works early in the mornings for the morning show. He has that radio experience. He knows how to get me back on track. And I think that was one of the problems before, is when you have two guys that have bad OCD, ADHD, and borderline autistic, it's very hard to have a normal conversation for 45 minutes. But you have Dave being like, "Come on, boy, let's go. Come on, back on the tracks. We got to get the conversation back going again." And he's very good at that, and it's really, really helped. Obviously, he's got the top morning show in the city. They're doing like 80, 100,000 people live listening at any point in time, which is
wow.
I mean, it just shows you how good he is, and I'm very blessed to benefit off that. And again, that was another, just send him a message, got in touch with him, and then the opening came up, and he was open-minded to doing it, and we've been hitting it off ever since. So
you guys play off each other really, really well too.
I tell him this all the time when we have our talks before and after we record. Like, I know my face is on the podcast artwork and my name is in it and his isn't, but it is just as much his show as it is mine. If anything, I give the ideas and he steers them in the directions they need to go. And I would be very upset if he left, because I don't know how the podcast would sustain itself. And he just makes it go around. Like this is the podcast that he makes happen. So I'm again blessed to have an amazing co-host that I do. And I could not ask or find a better one if I tried. I don't know where I'd find him.
Very cool.
Sorry, not to pump Dave's tires too much.
Hype him up, baby. Let's do it.
Hey, I'm a hype man in Motor City. Why not hype up Dave Wheeler too?
Awesome. Well, Trav, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. I appreciate it. And guys, go make sure to check out his vlog and his YouTube page and podcast. If you are not familiar with him, it sounds like he is a very intriguing young man, and I'm looking forward to watching myself. So thank you again, Trav. We appreciate it.
Awesome. If you enjoy Adderall on Ice, you'll love watching my vlog.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.